And when we wanted to buy our first home after graduating from college, Baltimore, we had our sights set on Baltimore. But not just anywhere in Baltimore, there was this little triangle, and we're like, we have to live in this triangle, because we knew everything that triangle meant if we were to place that triangle in New York or place that triangle in DC. I mean, it was accessible to everything, the highways, the schools, the subway, the zoo, you name it. I mean, this triangle was amazing. And we get to Baltimore, and we're talking to our realtor, and she was like, you don't want to live in that triangle. And then we were like, no, we really do want to live in this triangle. She says, you don't want to live in that triangle. What's wrong with the triangle, lady? Well, in this triangle, there's drug dealing, there are stolen vehicles, there is violence, it's a food desert. And we were coming in, and we had 2 small children at the time. And our hearts were set on living in this triangle. Maybe we were a little crazy, but that was where we wanted to call home. And so we found the place that we said we wanted to live there. We bought our first home. And we lived there. We had 3 children there. And at the time, what was this, a few years ago, our 5-year-old was in the car with me. And we took her to an elementary school in East Baltimore. We lived in West Baltimore. And this neighborhood that we took her to was beautiful. Her school, they had like string lights everywhere, and the lawns were all manicured, and you can tell there was just investment into this space. And my baby girl is staring out the window, and her eyes are wide, and she says, Mommy, is this my world? It's so beautiful. And I'm looking at her, I'm like, yeah, baby, of course, what do you mean? Of course this is your world. She's like, no, but it's so beautiful. Does this belong to me? And it hit me. Like, my baby realized something, and she was attributing her external environment to something about her worth, right? And her value. And saying, does this world belong to me? Not, oh, of course, you live in Baltimore. Of course, this is a place you call home. But is it mine? Does it reflect the essence of who I am? And it wasn't hers. And I had to tell her, no, babe, we live in West Baltimore. We live in the triangle where people say we shouldn't be. We live in the food desert. We live where the houses are literally falling down on top of the residents. And that wasn't what we desired as a community. And we couldn't wait for somebody else to change that. Because at 5, my daughter needed to understand her value. At 5, at 4, at 3, at 2, at birth, my children needed to understand their worth. And so we got to work, and we said, you know what? If no one else will create and fashion this environment to match the beauty of our residents, we will. The residents will, because we understand our value, we understand our worth, and finding it within ourselves to say, okay, we can fashion something here that better reflects us, that gives life to the space around us, that matches the life that we hold within us, so that my daughter can now say, Mommy, is this my world? She won't even have to ask the question. She knows it's her world because she's built it. She knows because it literally is modeled after her and what we believe of her. And so we've taken a 1-block radius. We've created a place called the Urban Oasis, and we've turned vacant spaces into community gardens and farm-to-table restaurants and theatrical stage areas, and the sky is the limit, because when you're growing life, I mean, what can hold it back? And so that's what I do for a living. I get to build a life and create a world.